All right, Dave, where are we today?
We're in a castle. What's the name of this castle?
The Citadel.
The Citadel. The reason I'm not going to be talking about Kant at his graveside is because that's in Königsberg, Russia. So I'm not going to go to Russia for that. Oh, it's Swan.
Here you go first.
Okay, we went and got audio guides from the kind man. And so Anne saw a sign. It might be outdated, but we're kind of holding our breath here because, what did it say, Anne?
It said that the East Berlin and West Berlin parts were temporarily closed, which is where all the stuff we want to see is.
I want my money back. I think Kant will still be on display.
Yeah.
But
We will see.
oh my God.
Decapitated.
Guess what, everybody? We found Kant.
He's dead. It's literally just his bust.
He's been decapitated. Someone put his head somewhere.
No Lenin for us.
The 8-ton head of Lenin is over here. You can't see, but somewhere through that doorway are all the problematic Soviets and Nazis.
Problematic people.
They've hidden them all away from us. We literally built our entire day around this. False advertising. Jeez, are you kidding me? Come on, guys. All right, well, next time, I suppose. I guess we'll just do a little Immanuel Kant interview. This place has seen some history. I mean, it got taken over by Nazis at one point. It's been through a lot. And what we are inside of right now is a building called the Provisions Depot. It's a very old building that they've tried to preserve over the centuries. But the reason that we're here is because we're doing this tour of the dead geniuses who've shaped the history of modern philosophy. Well, I looked up where Immanuel Kant is buried. It's in Russia, Königsberg. I don't know.
Probably not going to Russia anytime soon.
No, there's kind of a war going on, and so we figured that, we'll wait until Russia is not at war with Ukraine, until it's a lot easier for Americans to come and go. Who knows how long that will be. So for the time being, we came to this museum because this is where they place problematic statues. And I think probably what motivates it or decides it is like if protesters are out doing stuff and an institution is receiving a lot of grief from the rioters, let's say, then they just don't want the problems, and so then they put it here. Okay, so Immanuel Kant is here.
Show us what you mean.
We're allowed to touch them because they're problematic, apparently. So
That's where we are.
we're beside the beheaded bust of Immanuel Kant. Why he's problematic? I believe he was under the impression that all people start out white, but black people, they slowly turn black. And that the blackness starts around their belly button and spreads out across their bodies. And I think he was under that racist idea that this is because of oh my God, what? Like, so Noah's sons, there was one of them that was cursed, and then, Noah's children split across the earth, and the cursed ones were the ones that were black, basically. Anyway, it's just a thing that apparently some people believed. Some people still believe it. It's kind of ridiculous, but, here we are. That's not why we care about Immanuel Kant. It's something to keep in mind, is the fact that you can be one of the most brilliant minds in the history of the world, but insofar as you take the things that people say and believe to be true at the time, insofar as you do that, you might be making an asshat out of yourself.
All right. So, Dave, tell us, why is Immanuel Kant important to the field of philosophy?
Immanuel Kant is impactful for one reason, and he's influential for another. He's influential because every philosopher after him has had to reference him. But that's because of the impact that he had. The reason that he was so impactful was because ever since the time of Descartes, there had been this debate over empiricism versus rationalism. Rationalism basically believes that, like with geometry, you should be able to work out the fundamental problems of human existence and come to true knowledge from a study. Whereas the empiricists believe you have to actually go out and you have to study nature. This is a sort of version of the difference between how Plato and Aristotle are understood, where Plato believes that what we have here is a sad diminution or watered down version of actual reality, which is this sort of abstract, ideal, transcendent world of forms. And Aristotle believed, no, you actually have to get out there. And there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more ways that these guys can be interpreted. But for now, we're just giving these broad stroke, this is what people say, kind of interpretation. The 101 introduction to these thinkers. So Kant breaks he takes these two sides, rationalism versus empiricism, where we have people like Descartes versus John Locke, and then Hume, right? And he comes along, and instead of being within that debate, he says, what are the conditions of possibility for that debate to even occur? This is why he develops a kind of critique that's going to be very important for the rest of the Germans and then everybody that comes after them, really, which is a sort of immanent critique, which is to say you try to understand the conditions of possibility for the disagreement itself. What makes it possible for a human to perceive this dilemma in the first place? And so for him, he develops this idea of the categories of the mind, and he very famously develops the idea of the distinction between the phenomenal world, the phenomenal things, and the noumenal world, those things in themselves that cannot be perceived without mediation through our sensory apparatuses. It's undeniably true that we have sensory apparatuses. The mind functions as a sort of filter to mediate reality to us. When you're born, when you grow up, you just kind of take for granted that reality is what you're perceiving. It is through Kant that you realize there's several stages of mediation and that there are categories in the mind that are filtering the data of existence. And so we cannot just take for granted that which is given to us. This was a huge moment in philosophy because his critique of pure reason establishes, it's really just like the most boss thing any philosopher's ever done, which was basically saying, I understand both sides of this argument better than anyone in it, and I'm going to show that both sides are presupposing all of this other stuff, and What he was hoping to do was to kind of build off of the idea that Descartes was doing, which was to say, to kind of show religion and the church on the one side and science and reason on the other side, what their proper lanes are, what the parameters are within which they work. There's a realm within which science and reason are applicable, and there's a realm within which theology and the church has authority to speak on things. And so Kant is very important for creating this hard line where he says there are limits to what pure reason can do. And by establishing those limits, philosophers have been divided ever since. So that's why we always have to go back to Kant.
So, you've told us why Kant is important to the field of philosophy. Now tell us, why is he important to your own philosophical interests and works?
To understand Slavoj Žižek. No, I'm just kidding. That's what I say for Hegel.
For everyone.
Well, I think Kant became most interesting to me way later, after my Philosophy 101 course. Definitely not when I was in it. I mean, he definitely seemed like a powerhouse of a thinker and someone who's worth reading and trying to understand. I mean, C.S. Peirce read the Critique of Pure Reason for like 4 or 5 years until he basically had it like figured out inside and out. On the other side of it, he thought, oh no, definitely not my style. Other people kind of stay trapped within this, you see my biases, within the Kantian schematic for the rest of their lives. Someone like, is it Peter Singer? No, Steven Pinker. Someone like Steven Pinker thinks that Immanuel Kant is irrelevant now because he didn't have access to all that we know now about neuroscience and linguistics and all of this, and so he thinks Kant is, now outdated because, now we have quantum mechanics and neuroscience. But as my professor, Bruce Bierman, who I've interviewed on my channel, as he told me when I was a freshman student, he said, Pinker doesn't realize that everything we have through neuroscience, linguistics, and quantum mechanics is still perceived through the exact same categories and filters of the mind that Immanuel Kant originally discovered. And so all of these people are still within the mind of Kant. Kant still needs to be understood. And actually, I remember reading some personal journal entries by Albert Einstein when he was saying that his biggest problem with Bertrand Russell is that Bertrand Russell is too scared, it seems, to do metaphysics. Now, I don't know if he said scared, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically was saying like Bertrand Russell and all of these other guys, they stay within the realm of logic and language alone. They're not really able to like talk about like these bigger ideas that someone like Kant was willing to take on. Okay, for Kant, he wants to talk about like about God, the soul, and freedom. Like he thinks like these are the most important questions that philosophy should be able to answer. Okay, but for me, I think that what's so amazing about Kant is that he wrote this little newspaper piece called What is Enlightenment, where he lays out really like it's almost a manifesto for the period of the Enlightenment, where he says that in the aftermath of the Renaissance, the goal of enlightenment is for individuals to liberate themselves from self-imposed immaturity.
Damn.
Yeah. I've found the Enlightenment ideal very inspiring as a regular working class person who discovered philosophy in my mid-20s. I feel very much like I discovered I am responsible for what I know. I'm responsible for what I don't know. In the end of the day, I'm responsible for liberating myself from my self-imposed immaturity, from my own ignorance. I have to take my education into my own hands for the rest of my life. And so when I read Kant's article on the Enlightenment, I felt personally called to do that. And I think that anybody who reads that and actually has like a good professor in conversation about it will probably leave with a similar idea. There's all kinds of ways that the Enlightenment gets critiqued because those ideals get used to be like, oh, we're so enlightened, it's up to us, like Churchill, to raise up the lower races and all of this kind of stuff, right? And someone like Kant, as you can see here, he got beheaded for being a racist. But whether he was a racist or not, he did believe that everybody has the ability. Okay, maybe he didn't believe that everybody has the ability. Maybe he thought, oh, but some people don't have the ability to liberate themselves from their self-imposed immaturity. So maybe only white people can. I don't know. I've never read him saying that. I need to find out. For the time being, let's just go with, I've not given up on the Enlightenment project. I believe that insofar as you're a human, you are capable, if you want to, and if you feel called to stop taking things on authority from the church, from the state, from the party, from your friends, from your parents, and to actually learn on your own. You don't have to wait for a teacher. You don't have to wait for a class. You don't have to just trust influencers on YouTube. At the end of the day, you yourself, you're responsible for figuring out what is this and how do we know and what is the right thing to do. Yeah.
Cool.
I had something else but I totally forgot what it was.
Okay. Give me a second to
Before you ask the next question, I have the thing I have to add on to that last piece.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say. Oh, yeah. You said you had something to add.
Oh yeah,
to what you just said.
Yeah, go ahead.
For it.
Go ahead and actually say that though. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, and you had something to add to your last answer?
Yeah, going back to my professor Bruce Bierman. Something I really appreciated that he said early on in my education was that the natural extension of the Enlightenment project is a critique of one's own immaturity and the limits of one's own knowledge taken to then the institutions and the systems of society itself. A natural extension of this project is to then hold up your society and put it under a critical light that says, what are the conditions of possibility for oppression, exploitation, alienation in this society? What are the conditions of possibility for ignorance on a mass level in this society? What are the conditions of possibility for society that has slavery? What are the conditions of possibility for society where people think the only meaning to their lives is essentially working, and consuming? So he doesn't get the last word on the Enlightenment, but he definitely gets us off in that direction.
Wow. So it sounds like Kant is pretty important to you and to the world of philosophy. I'm sure most students who have taken Philosophy 101 have heard of Kant. But someone who is not force-fed readings in the university, where should they start if they want to read some Kant, do you think? What work or text would you say is the first one to read?
Okay. I'm a little conflicted on this one because on the one side, I always like to say, just dive in the deep end, go for the hard thing, which would mean just read Critique of Pure Reason. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I've also been making this plug for the What is Enlightenment piece. And it's also very easy. It's actually something that you could, I think it's probably one of the things that should be read when you're entering the university. It's freshman level stuff. And so while I am saying, critique of pure reason, if you really want to be a thinker, if you really want to do philosophy, it's an absolute must. You can't take it off your bucket list. If you do, then you're basically saying you don't have what it takes. But if you're just starting out and you want to read something by Kant, read his What is Enlightenment piece. You can get it for free online. It's not very long. You can do it in a single sitting. There's that. And then there's his Groundwork to the Metaphysics of Morals, which we've both read.
Oh, I know that one.
We read that this year. And it's a fantastic conversation piece for thinking about what's right, what's wrong, and how do we know what's right or what's wrong. Most people I know end up disagreeing with Kant's ethics, but I don't think that anybody is made better by simply disagreeing with him and moving on. You need to spend time thinking, okay, this guy is one of the greatest minds in the history of the world. He definitely thought every little thing that comes to mind, every little knee-jerk reaction you might have when you're reading him. He thought about these things. He thought deeply about these things. So the real question to ask when reading him is, but why would he say that? And because everyone's so quick to write him off, I think that we should always spend a lot of time steel-manning him, which is to say, think through the strongest interpretations of him. And don't be so quick to put yourself in the position of acting like you're smarter than Immanuel Kant. All right? Because you're not.
Are you smarter than Immanuel Kant?
I can't say that. No, I cannot. I cannot say that. Yeah. So, on the hard end, read Critique of Pure Reason. On the super easy end, read What is Enlightenment.
Cool. And anything else to say about Kant?
There's all this stuff about how Hume woke him up from his dogmatic slumbers, and he thinks about like the a priori knowledge versus a posteriori knowledge, and how his big innovation is the synthetic a priori kind of knowledge, and all of this kind of stuff. You will get that in an intro class. You will definitely get that if you read a Critique of Pure Reason, and you'll definitely get that if you watch any YouTube lectures on the topic. I don't really want to get too much into it right now because my main goal is just to say he matters. You don't get to avoid him. Kant's one of the most important and greatest minds in the history of the world, and whether he deserves to be in this place without a head or not doesn't change the fact that we all benefit from rising to the challenge of reading him.
Cool.
Quick little PSA about the Theory Underground 2024 European book tour. So we were on tour in September 2023 to promote Underground Theory and my book, Timenergy. Well, now we're meeting up with some collaborators from Underground Theory in London, Berlin, Vienna, Athens, Krakow. And that's just the places where we know that we actually have venues, or at least we're pretty sure we have venues. Not everything is really nailed down just yet. It's coming together, and that's what I need you for. We'll be there in May, maybe the tail end of April, but basically the month of May is when we'll be in Europe. If you think that we would be a good fit in your city, then let us know. If you've got a group, or if you've got institutional funding, or if you've got some other kind of funding, if you know that you would be able to bring us and kind of put on a good event, then we want to talk. We want to see if that might work, because, plans come together pretty fast here at Theory Underground, but time is moving quickly, and we need to be buying plane tickets ahead of time to save money. So really, I would say that the deadline is New Year's. The deadline is New Year's. That's the plan. New Year's, freaking New Year's. Get it in by 2024. I need to know. Now, you don't have to know for sure about, like, say, institutional funding or anything, but if you know for sure that you want to bring us, if you know that you want to host us, if you can volunteer, if you have ideas about venues and stuff, the application deadline is New Year's. Don't do it after that. So pretty much right now, I'm trying to put out all of the Graveside tour stuff that I did in Europe last year within the next month as a sort of Christmas present for everybody, and also as a way of promoting the fact that we are coming on book tour. If you think that we would be a good fit for you, for your group, for your institution, for your whatever it is that you got going on, whether it's at a university, a library, a community center, or a pub, whatever it is, let us know and we'll see about coming. So just fill out this form here. It's a link in the description. It's the Theory Underground US Tour volunteer, host, or guide questions. Volunteers, hosts, and guides are 3 different roles. And ultimately, if you have any event organizing abilities, or if you have a venue, then we really need to get talking ASAP. Thank you.
We cannot do direct revolution, but the only way to lay the foundation for it is to do what you are doing to move the underground. It's a theoretically correct title.
Welcome to Theory Underground, where workers with earbuds can find genuine liberation from necessity.
Research at Theory Underground focuses on what is most important for understanding our current situation: theory of the subject, capital, time-energy theory, critical media theory, CMT, and the most essential critiques necessary for understanding why the theory, ideology, and common sense of influencers left to right misses the mark.
Theory Underground is a publishing house as well as lecture course and social media platform. You've been reading Underground Theory.
Yes.
And
amazing book. I'm a publisher and an editor. I run a review of books. Literally, it's my living. This is the best edited collection I've ever read.
Jesus Christ.
This is a little experiment in what I, David McKerracher, can pull off without relying on the academy or the algorithmic dictates of the attention economy. I believe that I am, like so many others, pioneering a future in which educators can form learning webs that will make learning as a way of life enjoyable and emancipatory. However, before these tools become accessible, they have to be experimented with. That's why I built my own website and app using nothing more than my own saved wages, 5 patrons, and some small classes of students over the last year. Of course, I also have had my wife Anne's moral support and help with accounting so that I don't get in trouble with the IRS or whatever. In less than a year, Theory Underground has already put out 8 courses, 2 books. One, my book, Timenergy, and the other, Underground Theory, which has over 30 contributors, including works written by students at Theory Underground, some of my fellow travelers, and colleagues in the broader universe of Underground Theory. Beyond the books and courses, though, you will also find interviews, reading exegetical reaction sessions, and live weekly events for working class autodidacts, independent researchers, and renegade academics. These include a variety of clubs and cohorts that meet on a weekly or monthly basis. If you want to get involved, there are 4 main subscription levels.
Think of it like a gym membership, but for your mind.
The point is to make learning, practice, and theoretical comprehension a way of life. If I can triple my subscribers in the next 2 months, I can quit my gig at Amazon and focus on this work full time. All I need is a few more people at each of the levels, or a couple big time patrons who just want to see it happen. Right now I am doing a patron and site subscriber drive, so excuse the commercial. But if you end up really liking what goes on at this channel, consider signing up soon. I hope that you either will or have enjoyed the program, and also make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and leave this playing in the background all the time while you're doing other things.
Playing long-form Theory Underground content in the background while you do things has, in the near future, been scientifically proven to emancipate minds from the functional illiteracy imposed on workers by the structural stultification of time energy. This is achieved by reterritorializing circumspective concern.
Also, to some degree, it is for the algorithm. So, we're here behind the building. where they have the problematic statues. Oh my god.
Can't quite see it.
Okay. Now you're too far.
Basically see inside.
Here, I got you on this one.
Oh, you know that they're in this one?
They're definitely on this side. Come on, let's go. Fucking hell.
This is GoPro right now. There's his giant head. Lying on the side. Okay. I'd like to come down now.
You can all see why I want to marry this girl, right?
Please help me down.
Okay. Putting the GoPro down so I can help Anne.
How should I do this? Okay, maybe I should go backwards.
Yeah, okay.
There's also like... Actually, give me that again. Give me that.
She wants to do more.
That very well could be stolen. If not, it's just some other, like, mustache guy with a hammer and sickle next to him, but here. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna lay on my tummy. Okay.
Okay. Slowly alert.
We did it.
I'm gonna get banned from Germany over this, I'm sure.
And then now, just put on our headphones and walk out like we're just exploring.
Great job. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.